So my intention tonight had been to come out and get straight on with the Herald. I just found that the Spitfire's gearbox was leaking oil heavily, which turned out to be because the Repro new drain plug, just once you tighten it up it started spinning, so it's obviously gone through all the threads that are in the gearbox and out the other side, which is annoying. Anyway, so I've dealt with that, and now I can actually get on with what I was intending to do, which is to start taking the Herald back apart again, so I can get welding done in footwell, and then get on to dealing with the suspension on the driver's side and any chassis repairs that might be needed in that area. So I'll get this taken apart, covered up, and we'll be able to get the bulkhead off and get it welded. So thinking about it, this is probably a handy thing to talk about. What I do when get the doors off, or on and off, is leave the latches in place. So that's still got its latch on. That means when you take the bolts out up front, the rear of the door still has a bit of support. You can actually, it will hold itself. I wouldn't walk away from it, but it's enough to let you have a bit of stability while you get these back in or take them out. Then open it. And there we go. No longer looks like a car. Bulkhead's off. I've been sensible this time. I've actually written it myself down some measurements and notes on what goes where and all the distances. I had been kind of assuming, because I knew this was the bulkhead's the bit that's supposed to not have to be adjusted. I assumed it would just go back where it came from. Clearly it didn't. Anyway, let's get this hole in the floor welded up, and then the bulkhead's definitely done. Okay, that's welded up. It actually looks a bit better inside. Anyway, I'll get that ground down, and then I guess best to pop it back on the chassis. Hopefully the final time. I've got the grinding done to it's under the car extent. And the inside looks a little bit better. But again, it's going to be under carpet, it's under sound insulation. I'm not going to go too mad. I also cut off the stop I'd welded on to help me with my adjustment. So now I'd best try putting the bulkhead back in the chassis again to check it's going to go back and fit the measurements I took. And then it's going to be time to get the whole car probably rotated all the way around. Actually, what I might do first, might move it over first and try using the spot blaster on some of these sections of the chassis, just because then I'm nearer the door for cleaning out any mess. Spot blaster's supposed to be able to kind of recycle its material and not spread everywhere, but we'll see how good that is. Yeah, so get the bulkhead back on the chassis and then move towards cleaning up this front suspension, checking the chassis, see if there's any repairs needed there, and so on. Can report that the measurements look sensible. The bonnet fits on. The bonnet fits on like it did. Fits onto the bulkhead like it did. I think I can be finished with this, which is nice. So I take it back off again, work out where everything's going to go, and then get on with the driver's side of the chassis. I should shove the engine crane in the corner and get it off the floor. I don't really know where it's going to live permanently. And the cars sort of skew across the garage. So I'm going to have a quick go at spot blasting on here and see how it works out, or how much mess it makes compared to anything else, really. So let's see what happens. So I think the mess to effect ratio is probably not worth it. I'll have a go at it with your wire brush, stripping discs, that sort of thing, and then I guess I will perhaps come back to this for anything that's particularly stubborn, but I don't think that's not going to work out for me, at least. Just in terms of blowing stuff all over the rest of the car, the other cars in the vicinity. So I'll continue. I'll have a bit of a blow off of this dust, sand, spin the car all the way around, and then get the front up on stands, and get the front suspension off and the chassis examined. It's the day after. Herald's all arranged, so I'm going to get it up in the air and then get the front suspension off. So I've been around and first of all tighten the adjusting turnbuckles up so that the stop nuts are going to stay in the same place. Going to loosen via the big adjuster, so I should be able to put it back more or less where it was. I've also given them a quick go. All the bolts quick go with this stuff, which is penetrating fluid. I built Hamber. Smells nice, at least. Anyway, yes, I'm going to get on and get this part. Probably going to have to break this brake pipe, because it's already, when I first tried to undo it at this end, it twisted slightly, so time for a new one. It's probably the original, it's steel, so 55-year-old brake pipe. We can have another. Yeah, so I'm going to get one of that. I thought this wheel had quite a lot of play, and you can see the castle a lot is actually moving, which is not good. So, to check that this all goes back together properly. suspension tie off. See the filth that was behind it. Something to note that I only spotted when I was putting the other side back together was that these spring washers on the bolts that hold the go in here, hold the suspension tie onto the side of the chassis, they're quite thick, and if you use anything thinner then the bolt will actually bottom out and hit the chassis. So you need to use them or something equivalently thick when putting all this back together. So I'm going to clean away. Look, we've even got, there's a spare washer stuck there. Wonder how long that's been in. So I'm going to get this this muck cleaned off with a bit of white spirit or something, or probably a lot of white spirit, and see what all this looks like. And I'll probably take all these bits of suspension outside and give them an initial clean with some degreaser and the pressure washer or something, just because they're covered in years and years and years of oil and muck. So I'll get that done, and then we'll have a look at what we see on this bit of the chassis. Something interesting, there was a shim under this suspension tie on the rearmost fixing. I didn't know they were shimmed there, or if that's a standard or a normal thing rather. So I shall have to look up, but we'll definitely put it back. I can't imagine this shows up all that well on camera, but it is cleaner, honestly. And I've even managed to move this bolt that was not coming out immediately, so it looks like, unlike the other side, I'm not going to have to cut anything, which is nice. And the chassis is looking better than the passenger side. There is, so the metal like right underneath here, you see, right underneath this section, is bulging, so it must be rusting inside. I'm feeling like it might be sensible to cut that open and deal with it. Well, actually, no, I'm not thinking. I know that's got to be the right thing to do at this point, because I don't want to get the car to this stage again anytime soon. We'll have to take so much apart. So yeah, but I'll get all of it cleaned up tomorrow with a strip disc or something, so I can have a better assessment. So I've been doing a bit of chassis cleanup, and it has gone through, has walked through here, and it looks like there's a bit up here too, so that's probably going to be the whole underneath bit needs doing, same as the other side. And let's, yeah, we're going to have to see what it's going to be like once that's come off, because on the other side it didn't look terrible, and then as soon as I saw the inside I could see more holes. So I've been doing a bit more clean up of the outriggers, or the outrigger, and it's very pitted on the front, on the outside and on the inside. So I'm just going to replace all of this, and underneath, possibly at the point where I should have just put a new one on because it's been patched several times, but it's in the right place, so I can do some repairs without disturbing any alignment. But these are quite deep pits. There's one that's gone through there, and it just seems daft not to cut it all out. The underneath of the chassis is looking worse than I did anticipate. So of course that's how it goes, isn't it? And I'm going to need I'm probably going to need to go all the way along the bottom, and hopefully, well, we'll see what it looks like inside. I've had to buy some more steel because I don't have enough that's thick enough to do the main rail repairs. Actually, I've just realised I haven't cleaned this off yet. So I get that done, and then I'll make something to go in. Oops. I'll make something to patch up the front outrigger with, as it should just be a case of straight bend, and then that bit. I've already done this bit here, so I'll just join in. that's a chunk of the chassis cut out. You can perhaps see better here that quite how pitted it was. So, on both sides. The hole. So, there's the new bit. Well, there's the new bit. I'm going to do a bit of clean up and get this corner out. I'm going to go onto the underside of this with a strip disc and get it as clean as possible, and then get this bit tacked in. I'm not bothering with holes. That just seems, what's the point? Yeah, the WePro outrigger that's on the other side has just sort of a pressed dimple where that hole is. I'm just going to leave it flat. I'm not going to be pretension to originality. Anyway, I'll get some clean up done. So there's the repair welded in. I'm going to have to do a bit of touch-up welding because here, a bit close to the box section, has got wax oil in, the wax oil melted out, and got in the weld, so I'm probably going to have to redo a bit of that. But otherwise, it's going pretty well, so I'm going to do a bit of grinding and get that cleaned up, and then I'll take the reinforcement bar off. But that's probably it for all I can manage for the moment, because I'm waiting on some new steel to do this the main rail repairs underneath. So I've done the grinding, done a bit of weld touch up, and I've just got a bit of tape on there to give me a line to clean up this edge, because it's a little proud there. It meets up nicely there. So I'm just going to run the grinding disc down the edge of that, and then this section is going to be done. So that's now all done, and trimmed up. This bit here, by the way, this is what it's supposed to look like. This is actual factory reinforcement, which you often don't see because the whole outrigger gets replaced and that doesn't get put back, just for your Triumph nerd interest. Anyway, right, that is the side rail bit, or the outrigger bit, done. Going to be waiting for a bit until some steel turns up, which is going to be a couple of days for me. And I'm going to get on with the main rails, and yeah, it's going to be a bit of suspension clean up and painting as well. So the past couple of days I've mostly been playing with my new glass cabinet and getting the suspension parts for the Herald all cleaned up. Actually, I do have the steel now. It's just been delivered to do the chassis repairs, which is good. But just right now what I'm doing is figuring out how to get these bushes out of this lower suspension arm. On the other side I just sort of yanked them out with the vise, which wasn't really very satisfactory. They won't go in the press because the shape of the arm doesn't fit. They won't go in the vise because the socket I've got to act as a... go over there, push into, is too long. So I've managed to find some bits of, well, this is actually an old bolt that used to hold the bed together. And I'm going to see if it's going to be stable enough. It's a bit skinny. It's my M6. Let's see if it'll be enough to pull these bushes out. That worked. I expect this side's going to fight a bit more. The bush looks in worse condition. Anyway, I'll get on with cleaning these up and get them painted. There's some bits and primer. Blast cabinets worked out generally pretty well, except for using the disposable media as a test was a terrible idea because it was very dusty. I'll need a good clean out. There we are in a cut black. I'm using this frost stuff. Certainly claims a lot. Paint's on quite nice, so you know, you'll see in 5-10 years time how long it holds up. Okay, so we've got some new sheet metal. So I've got a bit of a thicker piece to repair the chassis rails with, main rails. So let's get onto there and cut some holes. So I've done a lot of cleaning up inside the chassis rail, and I've cut out the first reinforcement or repair bit to go inside, which is going to go about here, underneath. So it'll overlap with lots of existing bits of chassis. Probably going to use this original hole, so I'm not sure that it's for. It probably was for aligning all the inner structure in the first place. So I'm going to use that and draw some more similar size holes, get a good bit of weld through the whole lot. And it's probably going to end up being about 4 pieces just to get here, here, here and here around the suspension mount. But yeah, that's all ready, just got to keep at it. Right, I've had to do even more internal cleanup this morning, but now I'm getting ready to actually put something in. I've got some holes drilled there that I'm going to weld through, and there's this L-shaped-ish piece I'm going to put inside. I'll do a couple of them, join them along the bottoms, so we're going to get back that square section inside. And yeah, that should do it. Try and get this painted and then work on getting it installed. Okay, so where are we? I've got my first repair piece welded in there. I'm getting ready to put in a bit that goes here. It's going to go under there somewhere. No, not under there. And I'm going to seam weld all along the bottom. And then I might actually cover in the underneath here up to about there and repair the inner structure of this by cutting out the far side. Not yet decided. But anyway, I'm going to get that in and get on from there. I'm not even attempting to film any of this because it's more difficult enough me being able to see stuff without actually trying to get a camera under there too. Well, there we go, that's in. Upside down welding is as fun as it always is. So I'm going to get all this ground down and then figure out what I'm going to do in this section. Keep your hands away, that's all still very hot. There we are, ground and ready for the next bit. And what I'm going to do is just fill in the hole in the bottom of the chassis. And I'm going to do the inner structure of this bit by cutting out the back, or the inner bit that faces towards the engine, because there's a chunk needs replacing there, because the outer bit of the rail is rotten too, similarly to the other side. So that's going to give me a hole to be able to get in and weld up inside. So I'm going to get that next bit made. So I've got that section for the base of the chassis cut out. That's got some weld through primer on as the inside of the chassis that I've just built. I think welding is going to be tomorrow's job though, because this place is a bit of a mess. So I'm going to get it tidied up. I'm also covered in metal swarf and all sorts of muck. Yeah, so get on that, and then it's getting close to done. I mean, it's only flat bits we're putting in as well, so it's not like it's particularly complicated. And once this is done, I won't have to weld upside down either, which should be nice. There's the plate to the underside of the chassis tacked in, and you see I've got a couple of welds, so I can plug weld it up the middle. A couple of holes, so I can plug weld it up the middle. I don't think that was what was done originally. I think that whole inner section was just welded at the front and the back, from what I can tell. Anyway, I'm going to get most of this welded in. I might leave this section till we've got something inside, so it's kind of all ends up welded together rather than on top. Yeah, I'm going to get that done, and then cut the inside out. And there it is, mostly welded. There's some places where I'm struggling because of, like here, because there's dirt inside, or well, probably wax oil inside. So I'm cutting the inside out, so I'm going to clean up there and either weld that from the inside or clean the back and then weld it from underneath or something. But I'm going to get, and you can see also here I've got a couple of porous welds, so I'm going to have to grind it all down and then redo some bits. So I'll get this ground, and then I'll do a bit of touch up and then start cutting apart the last bit. There's still some touching up on the underside of the chassis to do. I got it fed up with grinding and welding and grinding upside down. So I went to cut this back bit out. Unfortunately my Dremel batteries run out, so I can't get down here at the moment. But moving on. I'm starting to make my repair for here. And that's going to slide in there. Here's a bit of a trim. It's going to have to be trimmed at the rear so it will go a bit further in. Then I'm going to, you can see it now. Yeah. So there's a little at the back. There's a little bit of the remain. So the inner structure, flat against this face, is intact. There's a little bit of its curve round to where it was on this plane. So what I'm going to do is try and put. We'll see if my flanging tool will put a joggle. So you can put a joggle over along the edge back of that, which will then sit over. Then I should be able to seam weld all along on the inside. I can just about see. I think I can just about to get the torch in there. So yeah, then this lip that's protruding up now will give us something to weld to for repairing the inner structure in where this hole is. Okay, so I'm going to get that trimmed and see how it goes. Kind of an interesting thing that I just spotted that I never realised before. This plate here is the chassis serial number, which they don't survive, that's pretty cool. There's not much original left of this outrigger, but that is. So this is my repair piece made, and I've given the spot blaster a go again, just for trying to clean up some of these bits of chassis, and that has worked very well actually. I think that's going to be pretty decent. Like we see in the there. Yeah, again, got something that looks weldable too. I'll just make a mess. I guess limited, yes. I guess it's got its place. Well, not going to be running any awards for prettiness inside there, don't think, but that's in. And it wasn't actually that terrible to weld. There was metal, and yeah, or metal rather than what remains of metal. So I'm going to have to make up a rectangle to go in here. This is still very hot, and keep my hands away. And then we want to go over the top. Then a whole lot more grinding and cleaning up. Still got to redo some welds underneath the chassis. So I've got my next bit made. So I've welded myself some little handles to it, because when I get this in here, it's going to be it is fairly easy to line up the bottom, but then the top is, oops, still a bit, still a bit hot from welding. So that's going to go in there, and then the joddle bit is going to go underneath the existing metal, and these scraps, so I can grab on with a pair of pliers or mole grips or something and pull it towards me, because there's a little bit of bend in here that I can't quite get out, so I'll be able to yank it in and weld it in place. So I'm going to get inside here and the back of this repair piece primed and then welded in. Okay, it's been a day or so, but I'm now ready to come and get this bit fitted in. That's going to go in there. And it already on that left hand side or towards the front of the car there, it already lines up alright. The rear section's going to need a bit of bashing and bending just to get it seated. But then I'll get all that welded up. Then a lot of grinding and then a piece over the top. And there's the inner structure welded and ground. It's not going to win any awards for prettiness, but it is now strong again. So I'm going to get something cut to go in here. There is a little bit of a shape in there. I don't know if I'm going to bother, because this is flat. Might as well might just chuck something over the top. It's not like we can pretend this. We've got a little bit of originality in this chunk of outrigger here. We can be happy with that. Otherwise, it looks like a repaired chassis, which it is. So I don't think that's terrible. Okay, I'm going to get that done. That'll be the patch to go in there. I did end up making the little bend. It's still not going to look very pretty, but at least, I don't know, makes me slightly happier. So I can get the back and the inside primed and get this welded in, and then this is actually a functional chassis again. That's welded up now. It's quite hot, but I think I'm going to get that ground down another day. I realised I still do. I've got little corners off of the bottom of one of these turret mountings, and I'm going to put that back on the bottom. I'm not 100% sure how much real difference it's going to make, but we started with them, so let's put them back. So not quite finished. Welding's not quite finished, but so we'll get those last little bits of metal work finished up, get the chassis painted, and I think then it's going to be on to starting to put a couple of things back together. Suspension on this driver's side, brake pipes, all that sort of stuff. So that'll be nice. And then it's on to dealing with probably putting the engine back in. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next non-metalwork filled video. Bye.